them come. This is their fate.
Let me get my Birdman hands in there. All right. Welcome back to the House of Wolves podcast. I am your host, Deontay, here with my near and dear friends, Jalen and Josh. Today we got a few things to talk about. Not a lot of news, unfortunately. It's not that slow, but it's just slow in the points of actually entertaining information coming out. But we got some things to talk about. We got Assassin's Creed Shadows. A lot of people are getting their hands on that. We got the Nvidia stock tanking. We got Phil Spencer talking to Destin about the future of Xbox. Sony canceling live service because we never got around to talking about that in the ramifications of what they're doing now. And again, more information coming out about the 5070 and that quote-unquote claim that it's going to beat the 4090 or be comparable. So a lot of things to talk about. That's what we want to go jump into today. But before we get started, per usual, Jalen, Josh, tell the people how you've been, what you've been up to, what you've been doing, how's life going, what you've been playing, and anything in between. Talk to the people.
Yeah, it's been not too long since we last talked. But for me, my regular games have been in rotation. I've been playing a bit of Marvel Rivals, just trying to keep up with like the dailies and the weeklies. Even though they're not really difficult, you might take a little bit of time to do all of the challenges because they're like, oh, play a Spider-Man and get 20 kills, and so you got to actually focus on trying to do them.
Yeah.
But overall, the game's been pretty fun. And I actually tried maybe like 5 or 6 competitive matches just to see how long it would take me to level up. Because each season they offer a unique reward for like a certain character. So like last season, it was like a black and gold Moon Knight skin.
Right.
And so this season, I think it's a skin for Invisible Woman. And so it's a gold rank, I think, or like the bottom of gold, and so that shouldn't be too difficult to get. But it seems like it will take time because some games, the longer they're all out, they'll offer placement matches where you play your first 10 matches, and they'll like give you an estimate of your rank, and they'll put you there, so you get to skip a little bit.
Right.
But for right now in Marvel Rivals, you got to actually climb from the bottom. And when I was playing, it seems like there was a lot of people. A lot of good players at the bottom rank, so I might wait a little bit longer in the season for people to like spread out their ranks, and then when I play, it might be easier to rank up quickly. Because the first 3 matches, or first 5 matches, like I think I won 3, lost 2, which wasn't bad, but the matches were like super long and super close. Because it also does the competitive rule set for this game is like even if the game type is like the push map, where you just basically push it to the end and then either you win or lose. That's normally what happens. But in competitive, both teams get an opportunity to push. So if the first team push it all the way to the end and the second team, they only get halfway, then they lose. But anyways, that makes it fair in a sense where sometimes in some games, like if the team has the advantage, like, oh, this map is super easy to push, then they can't just like steamroll them because the other team will actually get an opportunity to do it again. It still could be lopsided depending on how fast that first round goes. But yeah, overall, it was pretty good. Of course, I'm playing in Asia, so the people complaining and typing in chat is very few. As compared to the North American servers.
Yeah.
The player base experience might be a little different. As for other games I've been playing, not too much new stuff. I've been looking at a couple of the Ace Combat games because I never played them. But I do like planes, but like trying to play Microsoft Flight Simulator was like too difficult in the sense where every plane is so different. And it takes a long time to actually learn how to operate them because it's going for a super real simulation. Whereas Ace Combat is more of an arcade playing game. And I guess if you ever play like a multiplayer game with planes, they're kind of inspired by that basically. Where the plane just, it goes, you got some control over like your speed, your pitch and the yaw and things like that. But overall it's pretty straightforward and like driving a car. So I was playing some of the older games. Seems pretty fun, but it's interesting in which it's a arcade flight sim or like combat sim, I guess they call it. But it's made by Bandai Namco, and so the story is a very it's written by Japanese people about like Western-ish countries because it's all fictional,
right?
But yeah, it's like the Western military dudes, but they acting like anime characters. I don't know if I'm in the mood for American or like Western military anime, but overall, they've been pretty fun.
Okay,
That's all it for the my gaming week.
all right. Okay, not bad, not bad. I'm interested in learning more about this Ace Combat because I mean I don't really like playing games, so it's kind of like one of those things where uh it's interesting to hear other perspectives on why certain games may be interesting or intriguing to actually play, especially when you realize they got a story in a playing game. But what about you, Jalen? What you been up to? What you been doing? How's life going?
Shoot, what up, y'all? Everything smooth. Just registered for my 8K to Shamrock Shuffle. Was trying to see if Deontay was gonna do it too. March 23rd. Might well come do it. Why not?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool 8K. I say he's
You
coming
gonna
up
jump in
for
the Green River?
Yeah.
Nah, that's the week before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Josh said he's flying up here though, so I'm like, ball on your court, mate.
When the water's so toxic, they can put whatever they want in it, huh? No, thank you. I don't know.
The fish gonna be looking like, bro, when this water turn green? They gonna be like, hey, hold on. The other fish gonna be like, bro, how do you know what the color green is, bro? We talked about that before. How you know it's called that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But nah, I just been working out. Went to go hoop yesterday. Trash. I'm like, bro, I gotta really get back to it. I think that's my first thing hooping in 2025. So that really just trying to cool out and stuff. You know what they be saying, bro. Boys got diamond hands, bro, to the moon. Nvidia 200 EOD, bro, to the moon. Go ahead and share it. Y'all can sell y'all stocks. I'm gonna buy them. I'm like,
man, what are you talking
when
about?
When I pull off of my Lambo, man, they gonna be mad. Bro, I had to get on stock footage again, bro. I was on there crying what they was talking. People had lyrics and all that type of stuff. So I just say all that to say I know Nvidia had went down some. I've been tracking, it's been going up. It's already, it went from like 140, 150ish to like 115 or something like that. And I'm going back up 127, bro, 130 end of the day. Not just fun. But so just some of that. I've been kind of looking at the stock market a little bit more. And then I've been playing the finals. Hey, the finals low key kind of cool. I was playing the finals. I'm like, man, I finally got back to this game, bro. And I was playing that mug for like 4 hours on like Saturday, bro. I'm looking like, man, this game going crazy, bro.
4 hours? Oh wow, that's a lot of time dedicated to.
Nah, it's probably like 3 or 4. But nah, if I was in the crib chilling, I ain't had nothing that I had did my workout and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm finna hop on the finals, bro. And I was on that mug playing. It was from like 9 to like 12 or something like that. Then I had went to sleep. But we was on there getting dubs for sure. I'm like, man, I told y'all I was gonna come back and play that game, but that's what I had to let y'all know. That music on that game kind of cool, bro. That little elevator/game. I'm like, bro, I'm about to hop on. So, just that it's cool for what it is. I mean, it's a free to play game. I feel like they got a little bit of gated paywall type stuff, pay to win type, but it ain't a whole lot of it. It's real minor. Other than that, still playing Metaphor. I know I'm past the halfway point of the game for sure. I think the story kind of expanded just a little bit. I'm hoping they don't do no type of Persona stuff or stuff just get blown out of context and don't have any like relevancy for real. I think Persona 6 or 5 was the only one that really did it kind of crazy like that. But Other than that, everything been cool, man. Just working out, traveling, stuff like that. So trying to plan my next Japan trip. Go from there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's cool. Sounds smooth. Sounds smooth. The diamond hands is concerning, but everything else sounds smooth. Glad you signing up for other stuff. And more runs.
I'm in hands, bro.
Nah, man.
Weak. My hands ain't weak, bro.
Stop that. Stop it. But yeah, okay. That's good. For me, I mean, I ain't really been doing much. I finished my show Night Agent. I already told y'all. I think I told y'all last time. I finished it. It was just as good as the first time around. I love my little CIA espionage, everything in between, who done it type show. So definitely was a good watch. Recommended, highly recommended. I started this new show called Mashal. I don't even know what this is about. It's basically a ripoff of Harry Potter. But the dude don't got no power, so it's kind of like a in between Harry Potter and Black Clover. World full of magic. He only used physical strength to get through it. Um, and the show is
It's
called
an anime?
Yeah, it's an anime.
Okay.
Same anime tropes, same everything. It's just some fodder I put in the background when I'm chilling and doing something else. But I have been watching. I think I only got one season right now. So that's what I've been on. Game wise, I am on the last boss in Ninja Gaiden 2. And I've been putting up basically videos of boss fights and giving tips on how to beat them. So you can check that out on my channel, or not, matter of fact, it's on my TikTok because I haven't put it on my channel. I plan on putting it on my channel at some point, but I was just gonna do a compilation. At that point, I wouldn't want to kind of piece it out. I don't know yet. So I've been playing that, and pretty much almost finished with that, and then I'm probably gonna hop into either, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna play next. I want to say Rebirth, but at the same time I'm just not super interested in playing a long game over a long period of time. I kind of might jump into another shorter game that I can kind of finish. I still got Spider-Man that I'm halfway through, so I need to finish that. So that might be the next game. Spider-Man 2
Oh,
that I play. So, but
my
yeah,
bad
go ahead.
to interrupt. I was looking at the Steam, man. Ace Combat 7 is 90% off. If you was interested.
Ace Combat 7 is 90% off. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I take a look. Those types of games, very intriguing in regards to. I never like pay attention to them because it's just, it's a playing game. So, but yeah, I for sure check it out. See what it's all about. Watch a review or something. But yeah, I ain't really been doing like nothing too crazy. Still trying to grind on this YouTube stuff. Make sure I'm putting content out for you guys and all that good jazz. So yeah, stay tuned. Still got more stuff to come. But really, what we're here for today is to kind of talk through these topics and kind of give you guys our opinion on them. And really, the biggest one for me, I guess the biggest change that's occurred is due to that Nvidia stock and deepseek. And I kind of want to try to explain it to you guys, but maybe it's not the best thing to start with because it's like, how much do you really care? But at the same time, what you can understand the premise of what it is and why Nvidia is getting directly hit by it. DeepSeek AI is essentially a model that came out for a very cheap price and can be run on very minimal hardware. I guess I would say minimal as in it's consumer friendly. Its ability to be able to be used locally is what's really killing Nvidia stock. Nvidia has rode the wave of you need to run these big models on big computers, on big servers, and that is what their bread and butter is in regards to AI modeling becoming so big and vast across the market. What basically happened was they figured out a way, DeepSeek, and I believe it might be a little bit of a might want to dig into it some more, but I believe what happened is they figured out a way for their AI models to only run and operate on certain things that you may necessarily need. So say for instance you need your model to do, I don't know, I'm just making up stuff. I have no clue. Just strictly math calculations. And you need that part of the model, and you don't need this full data or model to actually have to run. You just need that portion of the model. Whatever they did, they figured out a way to do that and make it more accessible and cheaper to run. That is what's causing Nvidia to lose. Basically the longevity of their stock was based around they were going to be the biggest player in being able to run AI models. But if they're making them more efficient and more cheaper to run, that kind of directly impacts Nvidia's take on the market. So yeah, they lost about 1.5 trillion. I think the Nasdaq lost like 1.5 trillion overnight. That's a lot. If you don't know, I'm just not. This supposed to be a gaming channel, but I mean, you should be at least a little bit aware of some of these things that's happening. But essentially, what occurred was China has showcased that they can beat us at our own game, and in a way that I don't know. I wouldn't say China beat us. I would say that they have showcased another alternative to Nvidia, and that kind of what really truly hit the market. So a little bit about that, a little bit of overview. Have you guys heard anything about DeepSeek or talked to or seen anything about the AI model? Do you guys have any thoughts around it?
Yeah, it's interesting because I have not been deep into the AI stuff because so a couple of contexts. I've been going out to tech meetups to network with people in Japan,
Yep.
people who work in tech either in Japan or outside. Because I haven't been networking as much as I should. But it's been interesting, but a lot of talk around AI and different AI models, what some are good at, like their strengths, and what they're bad at. And also how over time people have fallen off of certain AI models that were good at one point, but have been surpassed. But the whole point is that the AI market in the West, at least, has been very privatized. Every company has their own strengths. Every company is
Right.
pursuing different things, and they all require big investments to get up off the ground. And so it's been a booming industry for a little bit. But the talk around the DeepSeek has come up out of nowhere because no one knew about it. But it seems that I don't know how it was developed, but for me, it's just personal speculation. But in China, they're if they took a more, I guess, collaborative approach between big companies, it seems like that may have led to their success. And not to say that they didn't learn or take a look at Western models as well. They might have been able to learn something from someone else. But if a lot of companies work together towards a single project, that could have skyrocket their progress if they were successful. So I think that is just for me, that's my personal takeaway, is that there's been a lot of privatized work in the AI industry. Trump just announced a whole bunch of money being invested into the industry. Microsoft's doing their own thing. Nvidia's doing their own thing. ChatGPT is doing their own thing. And they're all, $1 billion projects. And this project over here just kind of ate all their lunch. And that it's funny. It's not funny in the sense where it's a lot of money being lost, but it's funny that none of them were ready. So yeah,
They didn't even understand it. It was kind of crazy is that everybody is kind of Sam and Elon and what's the dude name? I forget his name, but pretty much the big players in AI, they're basically kind of admitting that yeah, it's a good model. Ours is a little bit, better, but it's a great model, and that just signals, it's cool. I mean, I feel like the amount of money being spent on AI was already insane. In order for them to kind of do this and be able to allow people to run it locally, it's just going to shift how people think about AI. Because if I can run a local um server for my AI model and I don't have to send data to anything but to this thing, it makes it smarter for it to now be like these, I don't know, people that have actual, things in the house, like tech companies, Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, phone companies, things that you actually use on your day to day. If they can make these things run comparatively good in a smaller scale, because that's what the point is now everybody's shifting to efficiency. Everybody thought they was going to need a bunch of energy. Everybody thought they was going to need a bunch of basically those chips to run these big models. But if it's becoming a future where people are now thinking of efficiency and thinking that, hey, we can scale down these models and put them in these systems or whatever the case may be, that does now become, where do you want to put your money when it comes to AI? Do you want to put it back into the people that actually make devices that you have in your household? On a consumer note, I'm not talking about these big companies that need these models and use these models to service or to even provide services. It's a little bit different when it comes to where does the money go? And that's kind of what was very interesting to me when I was reading into it and looking into videos and people were talking about it. It's one of those things where it's going to shift how we think about AI and the efficiency of it more so than anything. Because AI is still AI, is still not changing how it's developed or how it was, or the curve of how rapidly it's getting better. It's more so now just talking to, we thought this company was the future in this for these reasons, and now we see there's a better way, a more efficient way, in a way that possibly could be more consumer friendly. So yeah, imagine being able to have an AI model just sitting on your desk and not having to actually run to a server or ping a server. You just literally running that on consumer grade products. That is the goal, and I think that would be the most that'd be my way of thinking about AI moving forward. Basically, I would think about that. I would think about it in that way, other than thinking about it from a who's making the chips, because now it seems as if it's a feasible thing for them to actually have innovation in the actual models, AI models. So that's cool. I like it. I'm not saying that is. I always thought that Nvidia was a bubble. Anyway, I always thought that there was people were putting way too much money in it without truly thinking about the valuation. I don't even understand how any of this stuff gets to this point, because the point of you putting money into a stock is that you believe that they have a reason that they're going to go up, that they're going to make more profit. Half these people now, they just be going off emotions. I'm talking about I believe Trump's meme coin was like bigger than like Target, Best, like all these big companies that actually have physical assets. Like, it's just a coin. I really don't get it, but people just spend and like put money into all based off emotion. So the valuations and things like that, I'm hoping, well, it's not. It's going to still be the same way, because that Nvidia valuation was crazy. It was like, I don't know, it was like something exponential. I never thought it. I still think Tesla is still blown out of proportion too, but everybody believe the same, whatever they want. But yeah, this is kind of one of those things where it just popped a bubble, and maybe it recovers. Maybe people start to think about it from a different perspective. But that is what kind of caused that big situation to occur where Nvidia basically the stock tanked. But yeah, any other thoughts on that before I move on?
No, but yeah, with Nvidia, I think they all got hit really hard because they were kind of the market leader for AI and hardware. And they just, start releasing the 50 series. So I think it could take them a bit to recover. I think personally it might impact their sales for the hardware a lot, especially for people who were uh, really looking to invest in the AI. But overall, like you said, I think they were overvalued for a while, and this will hopefully bring them back down to earth.
Yeah. They definitely, I believe it. I forget the name of the chip. I think it's like the H1 something something. I forget the name of the chip, but that one probably gonna get them because I think it's a very expensive chip. I just don't remember the actual cost of it, but a lot of that stuff is gonna it's gonna definitely uh it's gonna definitely start to see the rippling effects on that. So, but okay, let's move on then. Let's move on. But my next topic is kind of still Nvidia related. I might as well get it out the way. Nvidia also made a big claim that the 5070 was going to be able to be as performative as a 4090. There, what's the catch? I think that's what, a $600 device versus a $1,600 device. The catch is that's not the case. They're talking when they're adding in DLSS and multi-frame generation. Baseline performance, which kind of is the most important part, because if you have a sucky baseline performance, if you throw more frames on a sucky baseline performance, you're still going to have a sucky situation. So, baseline performance is nowhere near a 4090, which was expected, but they do have, pretty decent. It's still a decent hardware. I think that's what people are getting out of it. It's decent. It's not the greatest, but with these different upticks and all these DLSS and ray tracing and things like that, it still should be a very competitive card. Just not the claims of a 4090, which, makes sense. My question to y'all is, how do y'all feel about multi-frames? How do y'all feel about frame generation? More so than anything. How do y'all feel about frame gen?
I think, like I mentioned when it was announced, I think for most games, it's like it will improve performance, but the artifacting or the drawbacks will take a long time to iron out. They might have to be done on a game by game basis.
Mm-hmm.
Because big games that collaborate with Nvidia, like Star Wars and Cyberpunk, like even those games have issues still with frame generation, and especially multi-frame generation, where it's going to be doing a whole lot of predictive work in order to show what's on the screen. I think, I like in general, I like the LSS. I use it for 90% of the games I play. And the games that don't have it, I'll see if I can implement it into the system. But I would say for me, like, I have my limit. Like, I usually play on balanced or even quality. Like, I don't ever push it to performance unless it's a weird situation like Elden Ring, which is like I'm trying to push as much performance as possible. But in general, I think that I'm not, as a person who built my PC, I'm not looking for multi-frame generation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want a good balance between rasterization ability and the DLSS. Because the whole point of what I liked about the DLSS is that it was optional, and when you used it, there were some drawbacks, but the benefits were clear that you can see it. Whereas, like, really pushing it towards the 50 series, it's going to be heavily reliant on the multi-frame generation. And while it will add performance, I personally know that I will see the artifacts, and there are a lot of games that won't ever be able to like update to fully compensate for that, especially like day one, because that's also what I'm concerned about. It's like if I buy a game on PC day one, I buy, I don't know, whatever it is, the next Star Wars game from EA, it's probably gonna run trash on PC, and if it don't, it might still have issues with DLSS or something like that, or multi-frame generation that have to be ironed out over the next couple weeks, and that's just going to impact my desire to play that game at that time. So, yeah, having rasterization ability is a must, I think, for PC gaming. So that's how I feel. I'm not going to go full into multi-frame generation.
So yeah, multi-frame generation, I feel like has and always will be a gimmicky thing. I just don't feel like no one cares and no one even has the refresh rates to make this make sense most of the time. The biggest thing has always been getting to a solid 60, 120 being, tops. Nobody cares about 240, especially not in actually competitive games where there may be a problem with artifacting and issues that are being introduced. To me, it is a non-factor. To me, it feels as if DLSS without frame generation is the more important piece of this. Creating abilities to have lower resolutions that produce a 4K image. That is kind of the biggest selling point to me at this point. It's not anything to do with the multi-frame generation or even frame gen. I don't find it to be a useful tool yet. And even if I was to get a 240 hertz or some crazy, ridiculous high hertz refresh rate, I just don't find the experiences that I would want to play that with to even be meaningful enough as well. So hats off to them for creating something and being innovative in what they're trying to do and showcasing this stuff. But you can literally run lossless scaling and they have the ability to throw in crazy multi-frame generation stuff. And that thing is $8 on Steam. I just don't find the value yet. I'm not saying that they're not doing anything great. I'm just saying that the value proposition for the amount of money that they're requesting for these types of devices doesn't make sense. And at the end of the day, what truly matters is that rasterized performance. Your upscaler can't be touched. It's not up for debate. But we do have to give AMD time to provide their FSR4 implementation, and whether or not they actually can start to provide a meaningful uptick in what their upscaling looks like. I think that is the true battle, the upscalers. That is it. All this multi-frame stuff, I think it's all just, stuff to be thrown to the wayside, not to be important, not to be talked about anymore. I really do believe the upscalers are really what's key here, because what we want to become is more efficient and more scalable. What we want to happen is to have handhelds that can look just as good as some of these consoles we are experiencing from the last generation. What we want to have is the ability to have that suite of technology and all have the ability to run games well. What we don't need is more frames that to provide even worse performance or experience based off of the underlying frame rate and frame rate and latency. So that's what I think about multi-frame generation. That's what I think about the 5070. I do still think it may be price to performance. It'll be okay. I just don't think you should ever go into buying that thing and saying that, hey, I'm about to get 4090 experience. You're not. You buy a 5090 for that. Not even a 5080 can do that. So just know that they're talking about multi-frame generation, which to me, still a gimmick, hasn't proven itself. You can feel that other way. You can feel otherwise, but that is my take. Anything to add to that before we move on?
Nope.
All right. Smooth sailing. All right, let's talk about Phil. Big Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer came out yapping per usual, always yapping, always yapping. He had he had a conversation with Destin Legary, and this one was pretty interesting because he did double down on a few things and also mention other things. And I wish I had the cliff notes for this, but really I didn't have a chance to read it through it all or talk through it all. But some of the key takeaways for this is Xbox games and what they're going to be looking like and what they're going to be what consoles they're going to be on, and their strategy for, to me, these are important things. Xbox Series S parity and scalability of their games. The Xbox handheld, and then, like I said, finally, what does Xbox look like in the future, and what does exclusivity looks like for the Xbox in the future? Where should I start? Let's talk Xbox Series S parity. I always talk to you guys about this already, and I kind of gave my 2 cents about why I feel like the Xbox Series S is the reason why we're getting better games, more I guess more performative games. Like you can see the results of Indiana Jones running extremely well on the Xbox Series X and Series S with ray tracing, and having the ability to probably run that game pretty well on the Steam Deck and things of that nature because of that parity, and kind of having to restrain what you think could be, could be accomplished. Obviously, I think that next time around, they probably gonna give it more RAM, regardless of what anybody thinks. They're probably not gonna stick around with the same type of RAM that they did this time, but I do think it's still extremely important for the games of today to still have a entry level that is cheap. And with Xbox S or Xbox Series S parity, it allows that to happen. It allows for games to still be made in a way where efficiency at the top of the mind and performance. I think those things are key to having a great experience on a game. The reason why I still own my consoles is because I don't get that experience on PC yet. There is never a time where they're best optimized and fully optimized from start to finish, and we've had plenty of examples of that occurring on smaller, underperforming consoles than a PC could ever. So that is the reason why you still want this to be around. You want them to do that because it provides better experiences on PC. Like, if y'all even look back 3 years ago, the PC was riddled with they still are, but it was riddled even worse with a bunch of bad Unreal Engine 4 games, and we're going into Unreal Engine 5, and as those games get pushed on consoles, the problems still are popping up on the PC side. And it's literally due to optimization issues, it's due to the engine, it's due to them not being super performative, and with a lot of with that stance of parity, it just allows for performance and scalability to be top of mind. And that's what I like about his Xbox Series S parity stance. Now, you can argue what comes along with that. You have situations like Baldur's Gate 3. You have situations like even, I don't know who's to believe at this point, but Black Myth Wukong situation. You do have situations where you're missing out on games due to this clause. But honestly, I would feel worse if they took it away. And that's my intro thoughts to the parity. Any thoughts around Xbox Series S parity? Any thoughts around handhelds and their abilities to scale? What are y'all thoughts on this topic at hand?
So yeah, the parity clause I think is an interesting thing because if how to put it, like every console has it, like they're but it's usually looking upwards to like upgrades, like you going from the PS5 to PS5 Pro. Anything that you make has to be parity between them. You can't make something PS5 Pro exclusive, blah blah blah. And I think consumers uh, don't think about that, but it's super beneficial for them. Going the other way, where it's like a hardware that's weaker, or I guess it came out at the same time as the Series X, but you know, when it comes to going down, a lot of people are happy. Oh, how to put it? If you have a Series S, you're happy about it. If you don't have it, then you're upset about it because you think that it could possibly be holding you back. Personally, I don't think there's a situation that a game is going to be compromised from it. It's just situations where a company, maybe they're having development issues and they don't want to put the extra time in to make it work for the Series S, or there might be certain features that have to be cut. I think that realistically there has to be some sort of middle ground where Microsoft works with the developers. Hey, we know that you guys are going to have issues when it comes to these type of games, like open world games or something like that. So to work with developers and provide assistance like they did with Baldur's Gate 3, I think that's going to be necessary if if Microsoft wants to keep this the two SKUs going forward. That being said, a lot of developers would just rather not think about it at all, like the Wukong guys, and just say like, yeah, we canceled it because of the Series S and whatever. Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's better overall for consumers, and like, yeah, maybe someday I will buy a Series S because like you said, having an entry point console to this current generation is important. And that would be the one that I would buy because I don't necessarily need the most powerful console. I just think that Microsoft needs to work out the kinks. Maybe the Series S was a little bit too bottlenecked in certain areas that makes it difficult for some developers this generation. But if they do a revision in the future, maybe that device is a little more scalable in certain areas. I don't know. But yeah, I think there is a little bit of work to be done on Microsoft's side, but I'd say a lot of it is still on the developers to do it. Because most of the Series S ports have been, not ports, but performance has been pretty decent, right? Would you say, DNC?
I would say most of the ports have been decent. Yeah, there hasn't been a situation where I felt like maybe the Ubisoft engine, not the Ubisoft engine, the EA engine sometimes have issues. But for the most part, no, I don't feel like there has been an experience where the Series S wasn't giving out a comparable well, they wasn't producing a comparable experience. I think that it was all about kind of like lack of time and lack of ability to kind of develop to those restraints. I really don't think if they're building games from the ground up to have Xbox Series S in mind, I don't think I don't think it ever becomes an issue. And that is the real problem here, is that these companies are not targeting these lower end systems, or if they are, they're expecting a baseline or a certain degree of capability before they start to dwindle away and say that these can't work. I'm glad they're putting their foot down and kind of requesting that these things occur, and that requesting that if you want to use our platform or our where we able to put our games out, it is mandatory for you to kind of support this system. So, but yeah, overall, I feel like they have been pretty, decent.
Do you think it's any different than when some companies, like, they'll announce or they'll target like the Steam Deck because they want their game to be on the Steam Deck verified list, and so you'll see something like Cyberpunk Steam Deck verified, and technically that's true, but I personally don't like the performance on it.
Right.
But it's still playable. But I guess why? Now I'm thinking, why am I curious why companies would be want to target the Steam Deck but not the Series S,
Well, I
or at
think
least
one of
like
those things is
announce
that
it?
I
Mhm.
think the Steam Deck still has more RAM than the Series S. That's what I think. And
Okay.
everybody keeps going back to that. The RAM is the problem. And I'm like, okay, but it wasn't a problem for Indiana Jones. It wasn't a problem for Doom Eternal. It wasn't a problem for these highly developed and good, but they are AAA games. I can't really be mad at people when they be like, I got a AA game. I ain't got the budget to be trying to work through the parity of this. But at the same time, when you do that and you build games from the ground up, expecting them to be as they continue to get a bunch of the market, or at least attempt to spend their way to become a larger market share of the gaming community and the business and what boxes are in people's households, as they work towards that, um, that this is where I start to see that they have leverage. They already own a bunch of different companies and things like that, and they have the resources to kind of provide ability to people for people the ability to kind of have help with Xbox Series S, but then they have to be more robust approach to development and stuff like that. So I think as time goes on and the continuation of this generation and the continuation of a entry level approach or entry level console, it will continue to get better. I do believe that these are, stepping stones for a bigger picture overall. And the bigger picture is obviously he has been screaming in night and day. I don't think a lot of people want to believe it. But he's been screaming about, just being a place where your games follow you wherever you want to, however you want to play them, in whatever format you want to play them, on whether it's on a weaker console, a weaker handheld, a stronger handheld, or a stronger console. They want those games to work across all board, and they want you to be able to not only, have a top line experience, they want you to have an entry level experience as well. So, um, yeah, I think that the I'm trying to make sure I answered your question. But yeah, for me, the the ability to kind of have all of that come into play, or at least have all of that be top of mind, is always going to help pretty much everyone. So yeah, I think that they need to fix two things. I think that the portion of how much they support it, and then their relationships with these developers, because I think that's what they're truly doing with the Ninja Guide and stuff, Japan trips and all that crap. They throwing money around. So they want people to still support their console as they go through this shift. So yeah. Next big thing. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, sneeze.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Next big thing for me is the talk through the exclusivities and whether or not games are going to be coming to other platforms. Um, I, what I'll say about exclusivity at this point on Xbox side is that it doesn't matter. They have the Game Pass. They still have the best place to buy games at this point with the Xbox Play Anywhere and the subscription service. You would not. It wouldn't be ideal for you to buy games elsewhere at this point in time, especially if they're first parties. Because I don't believe Game Pass will ever sit on a PlayStation box. I just don't, because that is a big component to why their console and their experience is the best, or the most consumer friendly. So the exclusivity portion of it, there is probably going to be times where you see games that do not come to PlayStation in the future, but then there's going to be a lot of times where you see those games come to PlayStation. And honestly, I've come to the understanding that this will be Xbox's make or break moment, not due to the exclusivity anymore. They are basically shedding armor. And what they have to show under that armor is like, I don't know, ripped abs or something that showcases that they still fortified. And to me, the big thing is their Xbox tech, their technology, innovating on tech. And that's where I'm putting on my chips, I suppose. I'm thinking if they're not going to provide exclusivity anymore, they're releasing that armor. They're basically saying, we don't care where you play them. As long as you playing our games, we cool. That's fine. But what makes me want to buy your console? And that's where he started to make a lot more sense to me, where he was like, I'm tired of, and I already talked about this about, I don't know, like four months ago. I talked about why I still mess with Nintendo, because I love how they innovate on their consoles. They don't got to innovate on their games. I like their consoles and what they do to them. I think they always are cool. There is moments where you see stuff and you're like, wow, that's a gimmick, but it's really cool. I love the Wii. I love the DS. I love the Game Boy Color. I love the GameCube, not so much, but I did love the Switch. Like, I love the concept of the game console. I didn't love what they did with it with the final product and like what it is today. But that generation, it felt like it was something unique and special. And that's why I always was like, I like to collect the unique and special consoles and not the ones that just a box. So to me, him even stating that made me feel better about his approach to what's going to differentiate them now, because it ain't games. It's a crazy thing to think like, oh, you're a gaming company and what differentiates you isn't going to be games, but it does put it put a target on their back for their consoles to be superior, and not just on a power level. It has to do something magnificent. So that tells me that they're putting a lot of effort into what that next console will be. They don't feel like they need to do a mid-gen refresh, because it seems as if they are at a point, or at least they are confident and feel confident about, one, dropping exclusivity, and two, that their console is going to be the console to own. But why? If it's not just a jump in power, what can make me, a consumer, want your console over the one that can play all of it versus the one that can play some of it? Because I'm still not going to get no PlayStation exclusives on your console, right? What can make you tip the scales in your favor? That is what I'm excited about. I really don't care about nothing else at this point. The exclusivity stuff, it's dead in the water. He already said it. Ain't no red line. Ain't nobody stopping nothing. Only people that's going to stop anything, it's just not around no more. None of that stuff is happening. They need money. They want to make more money. They know that, siloing themselves in the market doesn't make any sense. That's not good business sense. And I understand it. That makes me nervous, but I understand it. But now, with that being said, I'm now looking forward to what they can bring to the console market. I'm no longer in this space thinking that, oh man, they just made a bad decision and they're not going to really have to be able to recoup, because even if they are trying to make meaningful strides in how we approach gaming in general, they still have to get through that transition period. And that transition period is going to be on the backs of their games, which is crazy to say because Xbox was not always known for having plenty of games, but they do now. And innovation. And that's not Xbox bag. I'm gonna just be here to say the truth. They do bring stuff to the table. Like the Xbox 360 was crazy work because it was like basically a PC in your home, and you could do crazy stuff. You could do this Xbox Live chat. You can chat with people, and it's like these functions that they was doing at that time were unique. So I'm not gonna say that they can't make something cool. I just want to see what that is because at this point in time, it's all about providing people how they want to play anywhere. Those Xbox Live chat and all that stuff is it's going to again put it possibly could put it back into a space where this is exclusive to this box and it's not going to be able to function throughout your library and things like that. So how can you improvise or innovate without putting those restrictions back in place? So I am excited to see it. I don't know what he's going to do. I know a lot of AI is out there. Maybe they were well aware of, and maybe they wanted a bunch of AI to be a part of their console generation next console generation. Whatever the case may be, we know it just got cheaper. So there's that. Xbox handheld being a major portion of their business is really cool to see as well. So a lot of good things are happening, or at least a lot of things that I took out of this interview is some things that was just reassuring what I already thought, but it does help to hear a little bit of more about their approach and experience, or at least thoughts around topics, because you got all these Japan trips, you got all these people yapping about, the brand losing its identity. You got all this multi-platform stuff. You got Steam in the mix. You got the Series S parity, and then you just got games. So it's cool. It's cool. Anything that y'all saw or thought about Xbox or Phil Spencer and his take on the new regime? No, it's not. Let me call it a regime. The new Xbox experience.
No, not a whole too much to say, but I think that last year they were very hush hush about certain like big first party titles coming to other consoles, stuff like Starfield or Halo and stuff like that.
Right.
But I think as we get away from that and the public can finally like stomach the gut reaction about seeing Halo on PlayStation, I think overall, yeah, it's an inevitability. I think the exclusivity for the first party titles is not helping the Xbox brand grow. Like it keeps its identity, but it's not helping it grow. And I think that for now, yeah, Phil is completely out of the exclusivity idea. I think maybe they've got enough experience to show that the exclusivity is not enough. So yeah, I'm excited to see their new ventures. It's just I actually want to see what it's like. Because like you said, if they can provide a box or a handheld that offers the best experience for first party titles, that might be enough for me to purchase that device just for that stuff. But if I also have the option to play those games in another place and I don't want to buy that box, I think that's still good overall. Because maybe this situation where we can convince Jalen to play Halo 7, but he don't want to buy an Xbox. So get it on PlayStation, buddy. That will be the workaround in that situation. And I think that's good. Because I mean, if I think back to the Xbox One generation, where I had a lot of friends on Xbox 360, but they either want to stick with the Xbox One or switch to PlayStation, and that made it impossible for everybody to play the same games anymore, or at least just like try random games until we start getting cross-platform stuff. I think that by Xbox having all their games on everything, that can hopefully make a cross-platform like native situation to Xbox that hopefully can grow their ecosystem.
Yeah, because it's going to be tough for sure. Like they are literally putting this pressure on themselves by doing this, talks about removing exclusivity and all that stuff, because that is all people can fall back on, really, is their exclusives. Like, if you don't want to participate in Nintendo's antics, you just like, oh, I'm gonna lose out on all these exclusives though, and it sucks. But if you don't want to deal with Xbox antics, you still don't lose it. You still are able to go and play elsewhere. And maybe that is the approach that most people are going to be heading down. Maybe not Nintendo, but Sony here soon, because again, these things are now becoming just a box. They don't have much of a difference in abilities, and it really is one of those things where it does come down to simply who is being more innovative, who is providing the better experience, and who can also have the better ecosystem. So looking forward to seeing what they do for sure. Okay. Anything else before I move on?
No, personally, I want to see the Xbox handheld.
Yeah, me too.
I think that will be their strength in the next generation, but we gotta wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. I think handhelds are gonna make a big comeback. I just hope that everybody is tired of them by the time they drop them. Assassin's Creed Shadows. Let's talk about it. For me, every time somebody hate on it, it makes me feel better. I feel like I've been more enjoying the approach to not caring what the critics are thinking, because honestly, I don't think half these people like to play games. They just do it for a job. And I really liked Outlaws. It was 13 hours. That's not a long time, but I liked it. So I just was like, I kind of over thinking what these people think is important. I'm not over them having a critique and understanding that the game could be approached in a better way. I'm definitely not above Ubisoft learning a lesson, but I guess with Shadows, I've seen enough to I feel like I'll be enjoying it regardless of whether or not it's a great game or not. And call me crazy, I'm really tired of I'm extremely tired of the hating on large games just to hate on them. Like I hate certain games. I what I would say about Ubisoft is they never gatekeep me from, well, one time they did, Odyssey, where they basically gave levels levels to the enemies, so you couldn't just run around and do what you wanted. You literally had to progress through that game in the right way. But I give them credit for just allowing stuff, at least now, to just happen in the game. I don't really care to, if I don't want to do something, I'm not forced to do it. And regardless of the approach to gaming, because I feel like literally Ubisoft is at this approach now where they try to hit a certain amount of playtime hours to sell for that price tag. Regardless of the game, they want to make sure the hours are comparable to the price that they're targeting. Same thing they did with like Prince of Persia. Even though the gameplay was fun and enjoyable, they priced it at accordingly, because they thought based off this time that you played, this is how much you should pay. I feel like with Assassin's Creed Shadows, because they have such a larger budget and they need to puff it up with stuff nobody cares about, or stuff that makes the game feel copy and paste. But if you actually just play through the story, you may actually find what you actually are seeking is there. You don't need to interact with all the other stuff that they're adding that makes the game feel so copy and paste. So I guess my approach to these games have changed. I'm not saying Ubisoft doesn't make terrible decisions. I'm just saying I'm going to give this a benefit of doubt like I gave Outlaws, because at least what I saw from Outlaws there was a lot of time put into the story, activities, the actual world building, and environments you're going to. And I feel like the same thing is going to happen with Shadows, where a lot of time was put into these things. Yes, it's on a grand scale. Yes, there is busy work. Yes, there is markers. But again, I would rather that stuff be there for me later than to not have it. But I can't knock. I can't. I guess I'm tired of knocking games for being larger due to providing more gameplay, especially when the route to the story, to the start to the finish, is tight. It's like it's not loose. It's not busted. It doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel like you're rushing it. It just feels like it's steadily progressing. So I'm gonna give it the okay there, kind of similar to a Spider-Man 2. I don't have to deal with any of the outside stuff if I don't want to. I could just go through the story and have a good time doing it. I think that is the most important part. So, with that being said, let's critique some of the critiques. Josh, anything you want to add before we start? Or Jalen?
Yeah. So Assassin's Creed Shadows had started their media rollout recently. It started with the story trailer, and I watched the story trailer. And I thought it was looked pretty interesting. Because I know that you have the two protagonists, and they have mentioned it before that one is an assassin and the other is, I guess, working for Nobunaga. But it seems like at least at some point in the story, they're like actually on opposite sides. And it looks from both their backgrounds looks pretty interesting. So that is what intrigued me because like I like part of the Assassin's Creed games, like Odyssey. I know you did like Odyssey, but Odyssey I liked a whole lot as far as like the actual Greek world that they built and the characters that you go have in the story. But what I hated is all the Animus stuff, and so I personally I hate the Animus storyline in Assassin's Creed now, and I'm not looking forward to that part of Assassin's Creed Shadows. But at least what they show from the two protagonists in this game, it looks more interesting. And I might actually enjoy it. As far as the gameplay previews that I saw, for me, I like the stealth elements of it. I like they show like the spy network thing where it's like, so there's a fog of war on the map where basically, I guess it's the same for most Ubisoft games where some of the map is hidden, but you can send scouts out and they'll reveal important stuff that you're looking for. So like this area has a rare item or something like that. But it doesn't fully fill out the whole map. But that makes it so, okay, I'm playing the game normally. I can look at the map. I see some scouts highlighted, a couple points of interest. Maybe I'll stop by a couple of those on my way to the next objective, instead of just the whole map is filled with 10,000 things. I think that helps reduce the clutter on the screen, and still it can be completely ignored, hopefully. But yeah, so far I think it is looking pretty decent. I'm probably gonna check it out. I don't know if I'll do it day one unless I want to do it's on the like the Ubisoft subscription thing. But yeah, like you said, I think it's getting a lot of hate, and unfortunately Ubisoft, they're in a desperate place because they priced themselves out of the AA, even AAA market. They gotta be the quadruple A, and we gotta sell $100 bundle to 20 million people unless we go on bankrupt. So that's their fault. But I think they still make some good games. There's still some talented people there, and whatever happens to Ubisoft in the future, I think that talent hopefully can find homes elsewhere. Yeah.
I think that is the true case. I'm not sitting here. Last thing I want to do is defend an Assassin's Creed game, but I believe there's plenty of times where I've wrote off an Assassin's Creed game and they had a decent story. Like Black Flag had a really great story, and I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the gameplay of Black Flag. And I think that was one of the ones that was more well received just due to the fact that it was a different experience. And they have come accustomed to, they have become, someone to actually provide experiences, at least in different situations or like cultures that have like a really cool aspect to it. So I still do look forward to the Assassin's Creed games and see where they want to go. And Shadows has been by far the coolest place and well, the coolest place, and I can't think of the word, not culture, but it's a different word. But anyways, you kind of get my point. One of those things where they take you to experience different culture and things like that, and they sometimes do a really good job of that, and I like it. So yeah, I'm gonna play it, regardless of how bad it looks. Everybody told me that Dragon Age Velgar was terrible. Not everybody, a lot of people. I like it. So I mean, it's not that
Yeah.
there's there has become a point now on the internet where you kind of got to make your own decision, and you got to go through multiple sources, and sometimes you really just got to think, you got to listen to what the developers are saying about the game, and that's why I really like the developer directs, because in a world full of people trying to make money off of motions and people reactions and people having either a strong opinion or a very negative opinion, a strong opinion regardless if it's positive or negative, is the bread and butter of the internet. That is how you make money. If you're in between and you are indecisive, or you feel like you can get something the benefit of the doubt, you ain't making no money. So it becomes a point where I'm like, bro, I'd rather just get it from the developer. Like at this point, I'd rather go directly to the salesman, because the people that's supposed to be critiquing the salesman are just doing it for their own gain. So it's like, bro, I don't even know why I'm even listening to y'all. Like half the time, y'all really are just trying to get a rise out of people. Y'all trying to make people feel a certain way about a game, or make them, feel the same way you feel, even if you truly don't feel that way. Maybe you just are sensationalizing it. Maybe you're just talking to talk. That is a big thing on the internet. So for me, I like developer directs. I like when Cyberpunk were doing their own thing and they were putting out information about their game, and I was getting it directly from the people that make the freaking game. I feel like that should be adopted by so many people. Like that is what really sells me on the culture of the company, and as well as the people that's actually making it. Do y'all actually want to make this stupid game? Do y'all want to make it? Because I can't tell. And that's really what it comes down to. So, yeah, man, I think they need to go back to the roots, old school, being able to present your case as to why I should buy it, and not relying on these other people to tell your story. Because at the end of the day, we all out here to make money. If you're on the internet, you're trying to make money, regardless. I don't care how honest you is. You're trying to make some money. So that is the key to why I feel like I'm probably gonna be less reliant on, or rely less on people's opinions on things, because sometimes it does not. Sometimes there's ulterior motives. I'm not saying you can't trust nobody. I'm just saying that, take everything with a grain of salt. Don't stop just believing stuff. So, but yeah, that's my take on it. That's what I think. Anything to add to that at all before we move on?
No.
Okay, cool. Okay. Last thing we wanted to talk about today was the Sony canceling their live service games from Ben Studio, and one game from Blue Point. I think that Blue Point was working on an unannounced God of War game, I think, and Ben Studio was working on, or maybe it was vice versa. Maybe Ben Studio was working on that, and they were working on something else. But yeah, talk to me. Does Sony have the right approach? Is live service dead?
Live service for Sony is dead. Because
Okay.
well, I mean, yeah, because they a while ago that they Jim Ryan, before he left, said that Sony is pushing heavily into live services, and I guess at that time it makes sense for a lot of studios to do that. But Sony has had one successful live service. What, Helldivers? Is
Right.
that the only one?
Yeah, they had one
Um,
successful. That was Helldivers too.
okay, yeah, and so it seemed like every studio at PlayStation was working on some sort of live service project, and they've all been canceled so far. The Spider-Man one, the Last of Us live service, the Days Gone studio. It says that they were working on a new IP, but it would have live service elements. That was canceled. Blue Point was working on a God of War live service game. That was canceled. The Spider-Man live service game was canceled. Twisted Metal, and the list goes on and on and on. And it seems like that, one, they probably were having issues internally making the games, and then two, with the failure of Concord, it seems like I think Sony is just want to fully back out of live services, at least
Yep.
for these big expensive projects like God of War, because that one was probably super expensive. And also in the meantime, Blue Point, which is one of their best studios internally as far as like remasters and stuff like that. I don't think they've made their own IP yet. But those studios have all been busy working on something that probably would just come out to middling success, I would say.
Yep.
Yeah, so it overall, I think Sony is backing out of it. They might have some smaller titles, and I think that live services can still be good. And I think Helldivers, I don't know how much that one cost. It might have actually been pretty expensive, but a smaller scope or smaller idea, like Helldivers, is good. Like, it doesn't have a story, doesn't have open world elements. It's mostly just a multiplayer focused thing. Those games could work, but they got to be really, like, I guess, tested internally to be like, hey, this is a fun game. Like, Helldivers is a fun game, and we can sell this as a fun package instead of trying to get people to jump in on like a hero shooter that has like a big learning curve.
Agreed. Yeah. The key to this is that basically they had to give up. They had to switch. And that is going to put all their studios behind. That just tells me there's going to be even more of a longer wait for certain things for games. It's going to be a gap that they're going to probably try to fill with, I don't know. I really don't. They're probably going to try to go get some third party exclusives. And they're probably going to try to maybe rush a few things. Yotai being the biggest game that's coming out this year for Sony, I don't think that's going to make the I don't think it's going to make this year, to be honest. But that's the only game we have as of now that's announced that's going to be a major release. And I think it is going to impact, Sony's ability to sell their one mid-year console, but two, sell the PS5 as we continue to see additional games. And it's cool that, it'd be funny if Xbox comes save the day and, Indiana Jones is hitting the PS5 and games that are already have a market, but, the bigger market is still to be tapped. So it could be one of those approaches. Some of the best games that's coming out on there is, published by Xbox. Doom, Dark Ages coming out. So it will be an interesting experience over the next 2 years as we go through this problematic approach to live services being canceled, because this is like 3-4 years time lost, stuff not being done. And now you got to restart and rebuild on something else. So
Yep.
it is going to have a major impact. And it's going to be one of those things where you're going to see the difference in the approach to gaming. And again, I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying that one's a little bit more foolproof.
So I have a question for you, Deontay. maybe from the business sense, where let's say they worked on that Spider-Man multiplayer game and that was canceled,
Right.
and they put like 2-3 years of development into it. For most of the time for canceled projects, we just never see anything ever come from that. All that basically just put in the trash.
Right.
Like, for a big business, like a billion-dollar business like Sony, is it worth taking that and making like something like super small? Just like, I don't know, if we can't do a full 3-hour Spider-Man movie, hey, let's just put out a 5-minute short. Like, is it worth it in any sense? Like, obviously they won't make any money on it, but would they get positive? I don't know, would the consumer reaction be worth it, or would that actually be more damaging because you're putting out small stuff that's not making money? Like, I don't like, what do companies think of those just like super tiny projects?
I think with a subscription, you kind of create a platform that is comfortable putting out small stuff. I think maybe
Oh yeah, like
throwing in,
Netflix.
yeah, like I think when you create those types of things, you have the flexibility to put out small things and people eat it up, and it's not like a big deal because you can just write it off as something that you are providing more content to your subscribers. Now, maybe they can utilize that and piggyback off their PlayStation Plus subscription, but it's not as big of a scale of tipping for them to dump money into games that are not going to be returning, not too much return on the investment there. So really, canceling and writing off certain things can possibly be a better approach to them, because basically it's gonna turn into a the way that the way you can actually write down taxes and like company taxes with like failed things, and like it becomes it's like it's almost like a deduction, dude. I'm trying to find the right term to kind of how they shutter things and why people write projects off of their balance sheet. But I it's not coming to me. Same thing what Warner Brothers did when they were finna just shelve Acme and that Batgirl movie just to get the tax write off. I forget the name of it, but it would probably be more beneficial for them to do that than to ever release anything, because then at that point you had to make some money on it. So, no, I don't think that there'd be smart business move for them to do that, regardless of how much they spent. Same thing they did with Concord. That's why they gave everybody their money back. So, no, not really. It's not gonna win them any favors either, because people are gonna judge it based off of the content that's there, and if it's not as meaningful as it was when it was actually gonna be a real game, then they're really gonna still be upset too. So, I would say shelve it. Business wise, I say shelve it. People lose money. People lost jobs for that stuff, but shelve it wise, if I'm thinking of it from a business aspect, I'm thinking like, nah, I'll take the test cut. I'll take it. I'll take that for 200, please. Yeah, but that would be my thought process, at least going through some of these situations. But you learn stuff from these things, and obviously you got a better team for it. It's just one of those things that's just like, you have to be forecasting well when it comes to gaming. You have to know where where the market's going to be. Like, people creating games today think that people want to go back to single player, and when they start to get 5 years into development and everybody's back on multiplayer and they loving them some 6v6 arenas or whatever the case may be, whatever the trend is, that's the problem. That is truly the issue. Everybody was so happy when they was playing Overwatch. Couldn't believe how happy people were. And that's when they started making those ideas. So how do we get more efficient, more agile and be able to create and adapt. Like, only person that don't have to ever deal with that is GTA, because they always have real life to work off of. Everybody is crazy. The storylines are crazy. All you gotta do is make it more realistic than the last. That is never going to change. So they're the only ones that get away with it. You can't do that when you're making games to feed the masses and you're basing it off of trends. You got to do your own thing. That's why God of War was so successful. It was its own thing. So they have to make sense of what their approach is. If they can't make sense of it, how the heck am I supposed to sit here and tell you how to run your business? You already made the bills. You already got the $1 billion. You already got it. Y'all should have people on payroll that understand it and understand why it makes sense to do it this way. I can't tell you that. All you can do is kind of understand forecasting is important. And when you think about what your next game is, make sure it makes sense. Because there is times where the market is fickle. And they want something even though they say they don't. That's the hard part. How do you understand your audience? But I think at the end of the day, Sony has built a reputation for curating and building great games. All you have to do is tap into that. And if they feel like a small but meaningful approach isn't the right thing to do, then I really don't know what to tell them. Because at this point, they just don't even want to listen. They don't even want to learn their own lessons. They don't want to learn any lessons. They just want to keep doing what they want to do. So I'm hopeful that as they continue to innovate on their technology with PSSR, with ray tracing capabilities, with the speed of their SSD, and pushing forward on quick load times, because only time, when PC got better at load times is when the consoles got better at load times. I'm not saying that PC never was good. I'm just saying it wasn't a force factor. It wasn't a point for anybody. It was like, yeah, we're faster than you. It ain't got to be super fast, but it's got to be fast enough. And that SSD power wasn't really being tapped into. It wasn't being required until it was required on consoles. So again, innovation, the things that make you special is that you have the market share. Tap into that, understand it, and maybe you'll actually make better decisions in the future. But like I said, I'm not on their board. All I can talk to is just a dude in his basement having a conversation. But they definitely need to figure out the best way to approach the future, because right now it ain't looking too hot. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything else y'all want to add or speak to? I know we talked about a lot, so anything y'all want to get off y'all chest before we get up out of here?
No, I feel like we had a long and full discussion today. I'm gonna be playing me some Ace Combat. I bought it for $5.
$5.
And I'll have some more to report next week.
Yeah. Let me know how that. I might have to go cop that just to. I wonder if it's Steam Deck verified. Is it 7? Is it like a new one or is it old?
It came out. It's a PS5 generation game.
Oh, it is.
I don't.
Dang.
Yeah.
For $7, interesting. Or $5. Let me see. Okay.
Well, it was like 500 yen, which I don't know how much that is in USD right now. Oh, Bandai Namco sale. There you go, Jalen. Boy, you about to go get some Dragon Ball Z games.
Is that what is the Lunar New Year sale? I see. They got the Gundam on here. You know we got the. Don't make me get the Spirit Bomb. they got plenty on here. They got plenty on here. They got Digimon Survive for the 15. Cyber Sleuth for the 10. Okay. They try to get Jalen for sure. They try to hit those pockets, right? Neil. Let me see. I don't think they got that.
I gotta buy Kakarot again.
Yeah. How much Kakarot? 15? 15. Yeah.
I need the DLC.
Oh, that's what you need. The DLC.
Waiting years.
Stop it.
Don't turn into Mr. Swipe, Jalen.
They got the
Bandai
$109
Namco.
version for $59, the legendary edition. It come with what the fighter? No, this is the Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Sorry, it come with the pass. Oh, it come with all the characters. They finally released one with all the characters. That's crazy. It says they got.
Do it say all characters or is it
Wait,
like
hold
a
on. It
cutoff?
says
Yeah, you
content
gotta
for
double
this
check the fine
game.
print.
Dang. Wait, is we cooked on this one too? This one's a legendary edition. It says content for this game. I don't even know what that mean, bro. They tripping.
Yeah,
know
double
what?
check that Fighter Z DLC roster pack before you purchase.
Before you
might get
purchase?
cooked. You'll have seasons 1 through
Uh,
5, but not 6, 7, and 8.
Bro, that's so annoying.
It just say about this game. It ain't even telling me like what all come in it, bro. Whatever. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it. I want to thank you guys for listening as always. I appreciate if you got to this part, you're the real OG. I truly appreciate y'all listening to us yap. We'll be back next week with more things to talk about, more topics as usual. I'm glad you stopped by, and we will see you next week. Peace.